Hi guys, it's Kim,
And I'm Lola.
and welcome back to Turn the Page. This is the podcast where two sisters catch up over books, reviews, and all the juicy bits in between. As you can see, that didn't feel natural because I'm going to be doing a lot of the talking because Lola is going through it. She's poorly, so hopefully you'll understand and bear with us. So Lola, I can't wait to talk about this book. I actually can't wait to talk about this book. At first, I was confused. I was confusion. I don't know what a vestibule is. I still don't actually know what a vestibule is. But after a while, I was just like, hold on. This is actually getting good. So, guys, this is going to be very different to our last 4 episodes. This is a book called Piranesi. And Lola said that we should read this, and I'm very glad she did. There was a point when, because I think I started reading it before you, didn't I? And I was like stressed because I was just like, I don't actually understand what's going on. Like, please follow, like, start reading it so that you can explain. But we get it. So, thank you for listening. And you know what you need to do. So you need to keep listening, sharing, rating, and commenting. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram on @turnthepage.pod, where we'll update you on what we're reading. So Lola, I know your voice is crap, but what's the plan for today?
So today we will have a pick and mix, and then we will have the usual plot points and read receipts, and then our reviews, and then we'll end with hottest book in town and outro.
Yeah, so hopefully we should be able to get everything done in one episode this time, because Piranesi is a shorter book, so I hope that you guys will enjoy it as much as we did.
Pick and mix time.
All right, so number 10, books versus e-readers. So how do you feel? Because you're a book reader, I am an e-reader. So it's actually like me versus you at the moment.
Yeah. What?
I quite like an e-reader. I read on Kindle, and not sponsored, but if you want to sponsor us Kindle, that'd be fantastic. But I read on Kindle, and I find it so much easier just to read on the go at night, because it's backlit. You can take it wherever, and you can have loads of books on it. But I know that there's a lot of controversy about it because you don't actually own the books. They're still the property of Amazon. So for whatever reason, if they needed to, they could pull a book from your library. You don't actually own it. So I can see why there's a problem there. And that's also why if I really like a book, I will buy it as a hard copy so that I have it on my shelf and wish this is to look at. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I see the benefits of e-reading. So when I was younger and traveling across Europe, I did download a couple of free books on my laptop at the time, and I had a Kindle at the time, but it was like the very, very first kind of editions of a Kindle. I think it's come a long way since. But I preferred making notes in a notebook instead of using my OneNote at work. I prefer just tactile things, so I am a physical copy kind of girl. I do know it's cheaper and all of that stuff, but I don't care. I'd rather have a book. And then yeah, I do get that thing about you not owning that. I don't really think that's more of a risk. I think a lot of people raise hell or high water and get their money back basically if they take something away. But what I actually think is a risk is you see a lot of companies rewrite history, and then someone will be like, no, I actually had the physical copy, and then they'll show that no, this did actually happen. So I think that's what's nice, having an actual edition of the book, just in case someone wants to rewrite history and change a couple things,
yeah, you're right, yes, that's actually very valid, because if it's on an e-reader, all they need to do is just edit it. You won't know unless you've, I don't know, how would you know? Yeah, that's very true. I get you, I do get you. But yeah, no, and you are one of these people that, so I think, was it for Christmas that I bought you was it like a reading diary or something where you like can write notes and your thoughts on the book and stuff? So yeah, you're quite, yeah, I agree. I get it. I do get it. To be fair, I do enjoy having a real book. I do like the fact of opening it, you know.
Seeing what the
Oh,
covers. So, like in our book club, we were actually talking about black butterflies, and I was like, the book. That wasn't actually our book of the. I was talking about, and it took me so long to read that book. The book of the book club month was The Lion Women of Tehran, and that was very similar to Black Butterflies, and which is a book about Yugoslavia under siege.
yeah.
Please
Okay.
Google Black Butterflies so you can see
Okay.
what the book cover looks like.
I'm doing it now.
Even the title is about ash, like the books burn into ash and how it looks like
Oh,
black butterflies fluttering. But it doesn't give you that vibe that that's what the book is about.
it looks very. So there's 2 images. Is it by Robert Drake?
The Priscilla Morris one.
It looks
Yeah.
very flowery and,
Yes.
you know,
Very.
happy.
But now I can actually see the flames and stuff. But initially I thought this is a very happy, airy, fairy book.
Yeah.
And it's very much not. So I was glad when I actually did read it, but it took me a while to get around to it because I've been seeing that for a while. So sometimes actually the pros of a cover might the pros of having a cover might be a con, basically, is what I'm saying. Because it might mislead you. You don't get all of that with a Kindle.
Yeah, fair. And the other thing with, like you said about the cover, is like you sometimes you get like limited edition covers. Sometimes you can market the book like that. So, like I think we were talking about the actual book Piranesi. So there's another cover for Piranesi, which is a black cover, with I think it's got, I can't remember what the imagery is.
Yeah.
But the book that we have is like a navy blue, and it was kind of like, oh, like they're probably selling more for different covers. Hardback is more expensive, all that stuff. Whereas with Kindle, you just buy the book that's there.
Yeah, like I had to swap a book with Kizzy because I bought a specific edition thinking that with my friends, because I bought a specific edition thinking that it was gonna have the colored edges. Tomorrow.
Did she get the colored edges?
Yeah, she got the colored edges because it was a special edition, and I thought I had the exact same one, and it looks exactly the same except it didn't have the. It's like it's like colored edges, but when you flip through it, I just can't be bothered to get up and show you. When you flip through it, it says the names of the characters, like the 2 names of the characters.
Oh, that's dope. Okay.
The Tomorrow, something. The Tomorrow. Oh, it's called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow.
After all of that, tomorrow,
and tomorrow,
and
it has
Gabrielle Zevin.
Yeah, but it has. I don't know what this is called when it has. It's called something when it has painted edges. I can't think right now. I'm so tired. No, colored pages.
Like this.
Yeah, literally. But mine's blue. It's so cool. So actually, when you flip through it, but she has loads of different editions. She did loads of different editions.
Oh, that's so cool. To be fair, I must admit, I do like the real book because, like I said, I read it on Kindle. And the thing is because with Kindle, you get a subscription as well. So some books, like the next book that we'll be reading, I think I was able to get it free on the Kindle. So it kind of helps when you're reading. So it kind of helps when you're reading books on the Kindle that it's free or it's really cheap. So if I don't like the book, then it's just like it's not gonna hurt me as much as if when I do like the book, I'm like, yes, let me buy the real thing. But to be fair, if I don't like a book, I could just send it back. So you know, it is neither here nor there. Yeah. But yeah, so what do you guys think? Is it books, the real hardcore, well not hardcore, but the books, or do you prefer to read on e-readers? Let us know in the comments how you feel about it. So we're going to move on swiftly to Bullet Points.
Okay, so I will just quickly break down the characters. Starting off, we have Piranesi, who is the narrator and the main character. I refer to him in my head as the narrator because he, from the bat, says that he doesn't believe Piranesi is his name. He loves the house and calls it his home and believes he's one of only a few inhabitants. He finds food and warmth from the house and sees it as beautiful, as infinite and wonderful and majestic. So endearing. We also have the other. He is also in the in the house. He's a researcher who meets with Piranesi twice weekly for their research projects. He is a manipulative and selfish figure who seeks the great and secret knowledge within the house. That's what they're trying to investigate because they're scientists. There is also another character called 16. The other refers to 16 as a dangerous person. The narrator, he's quite inquisitive. He wants to know who else is in this world. And there is a reveal who's 16 is at the end, towards the end.
It's difficult to do the characters, isn't it? Because you don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah. Then we have the prophet, or I can actually say his name, Lawrence Arnstiles. He is a former occult researcher and leader of occults who believed in transgressive thinking and other worlds. The other was a student of his, I can say that. Then you have other characters who are in the background story. James Ritter, a former follower of Arnstiles who was held captive in a house similar to the house. He is met by the rescued narrator and offers him comfort. So that's at the very end. You'll get to see their interaction. And then Arngarad Scott, a journalist who's in the, like, he or she knits together the characters throughout the story. And then I think it's a she. I think it was a female journalist. I can't remember now. A journalist who wrote a biography about Arnstiles and helped in the investigation leading to the narrator's rescue. So those are the main characters.
Alrighty, so let's get to it. So this book is definitely, I've said before, different from the previous books. And we go through all sorts of books in this podcast. So I'm glad that we were able to try something new. So we're going to start off with how it starts. So this story is told through, like Lola said, the narrator's journals. He calls himself the beloved child of the house, or Piranesi. The title structure of this book kind of confused me a little, as I haven't actually seen, especially the chapters. It was kind of, how did they start the chapters? Like entry 6 or like, what did they say the chapters
It was just started off like a log.
Yeah, but
in the year of the something
the
something
year of the albatross. Yeah, and I was just like, no, what's going on?
So,
I don't get it.
Yeah, I did write that down initially, but that was so each section starts with an opening line, a date, and the location of the albatross. So that's initially what I thought. It started off with a line, a date, and then the location of the albatross, because there was a whole section about birds. So I thought he was tracking that albatross in the beginning.
Got you.
Then he explains how he refers to dates. Yeah.
Because I was just like, nah, what are we talking about?
But then I did actually write, that it's the same until part 7. So like it says location of the albatross, that was the same until part 7, which is the very ending. So I was thinking, okay, are we in one? Then I clocked, so it's a year.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay. Because I was like, what? Even when I finished the book, I was like, what? So yeah, I've not seen this kind of title structure before, so I find that quite interesting. And it is meant to give you a bit of an insight into Piranesi's state of mind as well. So like Lola says, when we get to the end of the book, the way the chapters are titled does change due to his change in his state of mind. So Piranesi lives in the house, in quotation marks, which is a huge labyrinth of halls. It feels endless. There's loads of statues. There's something called vestibules. Bloody vestibules. I still don't really know what they are, but there are vestibules. You've got the lower...
Come on, vestibules. It's just like a window, veranda, kind of like a vestibule, a landing, a vent, like this is a vestibule where my desk is. Okay. And then the plinth. Literally these things, and then like the staircase. It all had proper. She made them into nouns. So it was like proper features of the thing. But when you kept sending a voice note about that, I was thinking, I was actually looking for this thing, but it didn't come up that much. She mentions other types of features of houses, like instead of vestibules, or not a plinth, something else that a statue goes on. So not just a plinth. There's another word. I can't really think today. But she mentioned loads of words for things that are features for statues, like a concave or enclave for statue, or just a little rise, like a little a platter for, I can't think today, for a statue, or like a jutting out thing for a statue. So it's loads of little things like that.
I didn't understand what it was. So I was like, I don't know. Especially to the way the books, like I said, I've never seen a book written like this, so I was confused. So yeah, like the house, to be fair, in my head, I visualized a huge museum. And then we start hearing about the lower halls, which are flooded with tides, as in water tides. You've got the upper halls that are full of cloud. And then you've got the middle where he's living. So he's basically like a castaway. He fishes, he collects seaweeds, talks to birds, you've got the albatross. And he cares for these 15 people, the skeletons of the 15 people that he believed lived before him, isn't it?
So just to break that down a little bit. So the house is so big. This is why there's able to be clouds. The house is so when it starts off, it describes, it's like starts off with a really interesting description of the floods that Kim is talking about. So this flood happens every a certain amount of time. So he's been calculating the drift of the tide because there's a tide coming from all three entryways into the main like square kind of thing. But the house is so big that even just one, I forgot what they were called now. Each hall, were they called halls?
Yeah, halls.
Yeah. Each hall had, I can't remember, crazy amount of statues stacked up. So one floor is huge. That was what it was trying to explain. Because even when they get to the real world and they're talking about, the images didn't make any sense when they were describing the images. Like it was just such a big, vast space. And they couldn't even take the concept that it was a room. That's supposed to be one room. So you got to picture each of these halls with just a crazy amounts amount of space, and it to the point of the fact that the house is the world.
Yeah.
The house is a microscope of the world. It's that big that it's the world to him. And there's certain points that he will never ever get to reach. There's certain points that are just too far for him to reach without him losing his way. So he is an explorer compared to the other main character, the antagonist. But he is, even for him, it's just too far for him. So he has his range of which you'll see him go on an expedition. But the house is, so in the beginning I was thinking, is this a complete new world where this house is like a world, and this is how she's breaking down the world. And then the narrator is a scientist and explorer, and he's trying to reach the end of the world. So that was quite poetic because he was trying to reach it. But then also, as much as it is big, the last so each floor, so as you go a bit higher up, they've started to collapse on itself with the amount of floods and stuff that goes on, even though the house can fix itself. But up, because they're so high, and there's tide, so lower down is the sea. That's how I was picturing it. And then you have the land, and then you have the sky. So that, and it's because of the humidity raising up in the houses. But yes. And then outside of the windows is the great courtyard. So I was thinking, well, what's that supposed to represent? Thinking back in this microcosm of and then outside there's this great courtyard, and there's only the sun, moon, and stars. I was thinking, so that he is aware that there's other things out there. That was quite interesting.
Yeah, you're right, because I didn't even think about that, because I was thinking, has he gone outside like of this house? Like, what's going outside mean for Piranesi? So yeah, you're right. It is kind of just like he knows that it's out there, but it's almost like he's got too much to venture into inside, that he's just like, I can't deal with that right now.
So you have the upper levels is like the domain of the clouds, and then the middle halls, that's it, domain of the birds and moon, and then the lower levels is domain of the tides. And then on that 15 people, he's there. He has these 15 people that ever existed in this world, and now there's only the narrator and the other. But when the narrator gives a description of the 15, the narrator is one, and there's only 2 sentences that he puts about himself, which knowing now, is quite interesting. So everyone else has this detailed, which that instantly I was like, okay. So the narrator's the first person in this list of the 15 people Kim mentioned, that so there's 15 people that have ever existed, and then and then there's him, including him and himself. So he includes himself as number 1. The 13 others are dead. He includes himself as number one, and he only gives us 2 sentences about person number one. The rest of them, even though they might be like 13 to 16, but they have quite a lot of detail information
He
about
builds
who
up
they are,
a lot of story about them and everything. Yeah.
which obviously now we know why that person has such limited information on himself. And then 16 is included. So initially, when he put 16 down, I didn't know what was going on. So I thought he was like, oh, this is the way, because I've read another book. I think I mentioned this book. She, or he, who have never known men, and she's writing. She's literally writing what happens. So in the end, she's talking to you. So it's like she's including it. So I thought that was, when he was saying 16, I thought it was including the reader into the story to make you more immersive. Because it said you, whoever's reading this, but I didn't know what we were about to come.
So were you thinking like he was saying to us, we are number 16?
Yeah, like we're number 16. Like, oh, I like when this is done. It just makes me more involved, even though I was already immersed in this world. But then, and then I also thought, so you know how it was the dates. I thought it was really interesting that straight off the bat, because remember, I'm still thinking this is a whole nother new world. So it's like, okay, so it has Monday to Friday, 24 hours. Like, I thought that was interesting. So, but obviously knowing in hindsight. So, so that's
no, because like I said, I was confusion, especially at the beginning. I was like, I don't know what's happening. So we get more about the other. So Lola talked about currently in this world, you've got the 15, you've got Piranesi, and you've got the other. So we get to know more about him, and this is the only person Piranesi is speaking to. So they only meet as scheduled twice a week. They're supposedly working together to uncover the house's great and secret knowledge. The other almost acts like his caretaker, giving him things like shoes, sleeping bag, food, and he makes it out like Piranesi's quite naive. So sometimes he tells him off for things. Like, it's quite an interesting dynamic. So one thing I thought was, like, why are you giving him a sleeping bag? Where are you getting a sleeping bag from? Why doesn't Piranesi have a sleeping bag or shoes? Why is it that you give it to him? And that's what I thought was quite interesting. So
I was thinking that too. Also, so when he explains, sorry, just in going back a little bit, when he explains stuff like the number of people, he also mentions that the day used to be written in Gregorian form, so December 2011, and then it changed to the 13th day in the 12th month in the year of the weeping and wailing, and that's supposed to be an equivalent of November 2012. But it was so that, but obviously knowing now, it's so that he knows he has a reference. But even the narrator, he doesn't understand why this change happens. He's questioning it in the beginning of the book. And then I thought that same thing. So the narrator is kind of so optimistic about the situation, whereas the other is so super anxious. And I already thought it was a bit weird when he saw him from a distance, but he couldn't talk to him. But he, like, it was kind of like it was a hologram kind of thing. So I thought that was weird. But then what was really bugging me was like, what is the other shining device? What was that? Like, because he kept mentioning the other's got this shiny device, and he's always got this shiny device, which obviously I know what it is now. But like, I was like, oh, what is that? What is that? Is he an alien? What is that? Because remember, I'm still thinking this is and then why does the other just like, oh, blow him off, like, oh, I can get that, I can get trainers, that's nothing, I can get that for you. Like, what, you have trainers? Like, I can get that. And then I was like, I feel like the other is trying to manipulate Piranesi. So
it felt very, even then, it felt very Stockholm syndrome. Yeah,
but he would still stick up for himself. So I was actually, because I actually wrote, even in part 2, when we get introduced to the other, I was like, I feel like the other is trying to manipulate Piranesi, so I was glad he stuck up for himself. Because I think he told him not to do something. He's like, I don't know, I'm going to still do it.
Yeah. It was so interesting. When the other came about, I was like, oh, this is interesting. What are we doing here? And like you said, this is where we start to clock that Piranesi's memory isn't very intact, because like you said, like he can't remember why he changed his I want to say algorithm, but I don't think that's the correct word for how he does his chapters or his dates and stuff. So it was quite interesting. This is when, in my head, so I know you're thinking of it as like this world. In my head, I was thinking they're on a stranded island, and Piranesi is a liability. That's what I had in my head. Is that the other is trying to get us out of here, and Piranesi's just out here, just going through the clouds.
Oh, I love Piranesi. So you were like this wayward guy.
He's just wasting time.
Counting how many seconds until the
That's the I was thinking, and I was thinking the other's trying to get shit done.
Creating fish glue, creating everything.
That's what I'm saying.
He got resourceful. Like
my guy was talking to albatrosses and praying to albatross, and the others trying to get shit done. That's what I had in my head.
Okay.
So like they have this so the other's very intent on this ritual, which he needs Piranesi's help with. But Piranesi sees that this ritual isn't logical. So this is when I was a bit like, hold on, wait, maybe Piranesi does have some sense, because all of a sudden the other seems like this spiritual guy. And this is when in my head I thought maybe the other has lost his mind on this deserted island, and Piranesi's just trying to keep it together for everybody.
I thought
so that's how I had it.
They both gone a bit cuckoo in isolation, but the other slightly got it a little bit more together.
Is this when I was like, I think this is the point of the book. I was like, what's going on here? So yeah, like I said, the other's very intent on a ritual. He needs Piranesi's help with it, but Piranesi sees that this ritual isn't actually logical, because Piranesi insists that he is a scientist, isn't it? So he wants to stop it. He thinks he remembers everything, but then I think,
because he does have a good memory,
which he does, and he's documenting everything, isn't it? So that's why I was a bit like, I was like, no, the other's kind of like treating him as if he's some silly little boy, but he's not. And I think this is when, please bear with me when I'm like recapping this book, guys, because like I said, this book was confusion. So there's a point where the other, he says, I think Piranesi says, oh, I remember everything. And then the other says, do you remember Battersea? And Piranesi can't remember. I think even the way he says it, he says it in such a weird way that I'm like, isn't that just Battersea? Like, why is he saying that? Because
obviously we're reading it through the narrator's point of view. So as soon as he wrote it down, I was like, oh, Battersea. Like straight away, I was like, oh, Battersea, what?
That's like, why?
What? That's a real place. Like, what's going on here? That's what I think that's clicking. Things like clicking.
That's to me. I was thinking, oh shit! Like, where is this deserted island that they both know Battersea, or maybe they don't both know Battersea? But yeah, so the other highlights that they've had this conversation before about Piranesi wanting to stop the work on the ritual, and then Piranesi kind of fights back, and then they go through this whole thing about his memory, and then they kind of just, it always seems to be like a cycle that they have, which I was like, oh, this is interesting. Maybe I shouldn't trust the other. Maybe this is when I stopped trusting the other, because I was thinking, you're very manipulative. At this point, you were going to say something. What were you going to say?
Well, I can't remember. Don't worry.
No worries. So,
I remember what it is, but it can come up later.
Okay, so Piranesi starts. Okay, bear in mind, guys, like I said, when you read this book, you might even read it differently to me. So Piranesi starts noticing.
It's very straightforward. You keep
hyping it.
So part one starts off with like the narrator. Part 2 is the other. Part 3 is the prophet. Part 4 is 16. Part 5 is Bao. Without spoiling it, part 6 is the big flood, which is so comical. I really want to see that in a movie. And then part 7 is Matthew. So it's literally just about introducing the characters, and then you get to learn more and more. So that you just explained part 2. That's when we start be like, hold on, because first he paints the other as this mighty great guy that's like basically a therapist. I don't know.
Yeah, like he's like his helper, like he's his carer.
And then we meet the other and like, hold on a second.
I don't like you. I don't like you, the other.
And now we're at the prophet, who's been reported to be 16. We're not sure at this point. At this point, we don't know who the part 3 is. So we're on part 3 now, which is when he meets the old man.
Okay. So this is where Piranesi starts to notice some things aren't adding up. He finds scraps of journals with words he doesn't recognize. And when you start to find out what these words are, for us, we're just like, we know what these words are. But for him, because of this whole memory thing, he doesn't know what these words are. So
But
he starts...
I didn't understand this method of deduction. If you, at the time, if you don't know what the word is, how is looking at a statue going to tell you what the word is? The statue doesn't explain what the word is. Like when he looked at something for monkey, and I was like, but how do you know what a monkey is by looking? Yeah, because I was like, I think I wrote this down. I was like, how is he? I was wondering how he could describe the statues and animals with no reference, but not know other things. So like, how is by looking at the statue able to tell him what the word is?
But this is when I was thinking this is an amnesia or memory, partial memory loss thing.
Like Plato in the cave, like you know the thing, you just need something to jog your...
Exactly. So that's why I was thinking, okay, it's probably because that's why I was like, something's happened to him. Like maybe the other knocked him out or something, because the fact that the other still takes care of his liability, but I don't know. So this is where we meet a new person in the house who we find out, as Lola has highlighted when she was going through the characters, is Lawrence on Sales. I say Sales. You've been saying Sales. I say Sales. Piranesi calls on Sales the prophet, as he seems to have a lot of information that Piranesi doesn't have. And this is kind of where I feel the naivety of Piranesi, but it's probably necessary for us as the audience to understand what's going on. So the prophet asks about somebody called Kettley, who was his student, and Piranesi asks, is he referring to 16? Because he's just like, oh, who's Kettley? He's never heard Kettley before. So he's asking, are you referring to somebody called 16? Because he's heard of 16, who the other says is dangerous and will cause Piranesi to go mad if he spoke to him. The other makes it out that 16 is coming for him. At this point, I was thinking, shit, is 16 bad? Like, who is 16? The prophet explains that 16 is actually coming to help Piranesi, and then the prophet kind of just leaves. Like, poor Piranesi is just like, okay. But what I found interesting here is that Piranesi doesn't question how he left. Take me with you.
Or just followed him. Why didn't he just follow him? So like literally, this is when I actually started clocking things. So it was like, because he literally explains everything to him. He's like, so I did get a bit confused, because I was like, so is the prophet 16? Is the other 16? Who is the 16? Is the other Val Kettley? And then he also recognizes the biscuit tin and knows some of the dead, because he starts to name other people, like, oh, you're probably talking about this person, and then he realizes those 13 other people, he actually knew them. So he starts to get a little bit sad about that. And then I was like, oh, so it seems he was a lecturer because he had an office at the university. He just randomly mentions that, oh, you probably saw that at your office at the... So the prophet, like in the conversation with this old man, he starts getting bits that I'm like picking up, like, oh, is this what's happening? And then the prophet also explains that we're in what is called a I wrote this in pink, so I don't know if this is distributary world, but it looks like is that A or E? Anyway, so yeah, he actually explains to him what's going on, but obviously we're so early on in the book that we're just like, it just kind of, some of it went over my head, and
I was just like, on Sales, what are you saying? Like,
and then this is I was like, oh, so do the statues, like you were saying, represent lost knowledge, as Piranesi theorizes? So he starts theorizing that too. And then I was like, okay, this looks like a science experiment. That's why the other only meets Piranesi on Tuesdays and Fridays.
Interesting.
Because that's why I was like, okay, this is why because the same way the prophet came and went, I was like, oh, that's what the other must have done that time he saw him by accident, because that wasn't on a designated day. That's what I think. That's when I started clocking things, and then I was wondering how he could. That's when I started saying, okay, maybe that's how the Plato thing. Because I was wondering, how could he just look at the monkey? If you don't know what a monkey is, just looking at it isn't going to tell me, oh, that's a monkey. Like, you would even think that's a man, a deformed man, if you saw that. I think that's what happened when people saw those older statues of monkeys. So yeah, that was when things started clicking. But you're right. In hindsight, I was still like, who is this? Oh man, is this 16? And we've been built up. So the other literally built up so much tension with me and 16.
Yeah.
Like he even said he was gonna kill Piranesi if he starts to because sometimes the other's sane, but sometimes the other's a bit cuckoo.
He was losing his mind.
Yeah, because that's the side effects of being in that phone.
It was so, I found it so interesting. I was thinking, oh no, like you need to follow him. And then I think I kind of rationalized this part to think, oh, Piranesi just thinks he's going to another part of the house.
Yeah, the house is so big because that's what the other set up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like he's just going to another part of the house. So he's just thinking, wow, like this is amazing. Thank you, Prophet, for coming to explain things to me, and then sent him on his way. So Piranesi keeps the fact that he actually met the Prophet from the other. And I think, was this because the Prophet told him not to say?
Because the Prophet said, "I'll kill you if you speak to the other." And then he
no,
speak to 16, and then he said, "Well, I didn't." He tricked himself or like convinced himself. Well, I didn't know it was 16. He kept doing little things like that to go around. So he didn't want to disobey the other, but he would.
He just didn't think
the
it was
situation.
Right to.
Yeah, so he would twist the situation and be like, well, technically, I'm not talking to 16. I thought it was the other. Or when he couldn't write to the actual 16, he was like, what did he do? He did something so he could read it a little bit, but not properly. Like he destroyed it. Yeah, he did weird things. So so he could disobey but obey at the same time. So this
is kind of how you see like the power that the other has over
losing, though. It's weakening.
Yeah, which is quite interesting. That it was like all of a sudden now, like, because how many
I don't think it was all of a sudden though. They did break it down. I mean, from 2011 to when he gets thingy. I don't think it was all of a sudden. I think it was over time because remember he ripped out those pages where he started getting suspicious over things. So I think that's just been resetting every time.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, okay, I get what you mean now when you're saying it. See, this is why I wanted to talk this through, because this book, I know you say it's very straightforward, but it wasn't for me. I'm a commoner.
It's like a Shutter Island type mind.
It's so interesting. Like I said, I've been saying to Lola that I need to reread the book. Just now that I have the knowledge I have, I want to reread it. But yes, so like I said, he makes a decision not to tell the other about the Prophet. And he also makes a decision that he wants to speak to 16 because obviously the Prophet says that 16 isn't dangerous, or I don't think he actually says it's not dangerous, but he does say that number 16 is coming to save you. So he does want to speak to 16. Piranesi starts to read his earlier journals, and this is when we start to hear about some other names like Stanley Ovenden and Sylvia D'Agostino.
So he numbers his journals and he thought he had 1, 2, 3, 4. He realized he was reading 21, 2, 3, 4, something like that. So that's why Kim is referring to earlier journals, because then he realized, hold on a second, and then he finds some of the old ones. He doesn't find all, but he finds some of the old ones.
And like I said, this is where we start hearing about Stanley Ovenden, Sylvia Agostino, and their relationship with the Prophet. And this is where you call the Prophet's not this good guy. There's the Prophet's a weirdo. You piece
mad
the fact
scientist.
that he's like a mad scientist that has made this weird cult. You have these people that work alongside him. I think Stanley Ovenden gets killed. I think Sylvia D'Agostino gets killed as well. She gets separated from her family because she's following the Prophet. So this is where you start to feel like, I was like, oh, this is weird.
And those are the people that are in the halls with him. But the professor, when he's explaining, he's like, oh, well, he's basically saying it's their fault.
Yeah. As in, when you say professor, you mean the Prophet?
Yeah, because
yeah. I know it's guys. I apologize. The Prophet is the professor, and also Lawrence on sales. Okay, it's going to get confusing very quickly.
Yeah.
So you need to read the book. We also read about other victims of the Prophet. So this is where we read this mad story about some guy called James Ritter, and the actual title of the chapter is "Poor James Ritter." Like, I was like, who is this man? So he was in the house And you start to see remnants of this because at one point, Piranesi's walking through the house and he's annoyed that there's trash everywhere. I think it's like crisp packets or something like that. And he's just like, oh gosh, like these messy people. Bloody Piranesi. Piranesi was annoying me. I tell you, I keep saying it was a liability.
Oh, he was so cute.
No,
but that was annoying. It's like, come on, where did it come from? Think.
Yeah, there's no question about why is there crisp packets when I'm
even when he
shells
found
and fish.
That turned journal, I was thinking, what the hell? Why didn't that creep him out?
It's his naivety or the way his brain.
But I guess because it's the world, you have to think it's the world. If I just stumbled across a volcano, I'm not going to think, where the hell did it come from? I'm going to think, okay, that's what happens in this part of the world.
No, I think you would. There's some things in here, I'm like, I swear I would ask some questions. So the story about Enjoyyyy is, in the shortened version, is he was considered mentally ill after being in the house for 2 years. He was like hidden. He went missing. He was hidden in some part of the prophet's house. And when he tries to explain his story, when he's still talking to the police about it, they can't understand what he's talking about. Because like Lola said earlier, the way he's describing the halls and everything that's going on in there, they're just like, okay, brother, okay, here's some medication. Like, you just need to get through life. So when I read the chapter again, and I was like, yeah, poor James Ritter, he went through it.
And then Sylvia even got film footage, and this film footage has been in movies, and it's like a cult following, but people don't believe it's real. It just looks so big and vast that no one can think. Like,
which is quite interesting that you say that, because that was when I was thinking, hold on, so you can actually come in here with a camera?
Yeah.
I was just like, this is wild. Like, what's going on here? So moving on. This is where it started to get a bit juicier. Piranesi starts to learn about being held as a prisoner, and his captor is the other, who is a man called Valentine Kettley, who's this manipulative academic obsessed with magic and power. But before we get there, Piranesi's starting to smell perfume, and he tries to track it, and this is when he clocks on that 16 is close by. Piranesi tells... I'm starting to call him Kettley now, because I think this is where we start to clock that the other is Val Kettley. So Piranesi tells Kettley... Hold on.
So part 4 is 16. So this is when he's tracking her, and now I'm like, okay, so 16 is not the Prophet or Lawrence.
It's a completely different person.
And then the other is like obsessively getting a bit too crazy about warning 16. That's what makes him, and then betray him, because there's a great flood coming. So every now and again, so in the beginning there was a flood that he was trying to warn the other about. So as it's approaching,
Piranesi was trying to warn the other.
So that's what. So there was a mini flood just happening in one of the halls, and then, or stairways, and then there's the great flood happens once every, I can't remember, and he is trying to warn the other about it because they can't meet on that day, because if he comes, he'll die. So when he notices all the crisp packets where 16 is, that's where the flood will be. So he's like, I can't just not tell 16. But the other is like, if you tell 16, I'll kill you. Like, so I'm gonna get a gun. And then and the other's like, what? Like, what? You're gonna get a gun? So that's when Piranesi really is like, okay, nah, this guy, I can't. He gets super suspicious. And then we find out his name. So the 16 then comes, and she writes Matthew Rose Sorensen. And then we find out that that's his name.
So Piranesi is Matthew Sorensen.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't realize that, but we realize that. And then Piranesi is actually an artist who specializes in drawing labyrinths. So that's why
so the author.
The other one was the one that named him Piranesi. Remember?
Yes.
Like the other one being very spiteful or whatever, very cunning or whatever.
It's actually so rude.
Yeah, very like.
Just call him Matthew.
Literally, just call him. But he didn't want to jog his memory. If you call him Matthew. So that's why, because that's what the 16 explains to him. And then now, like Kim says, then we start to clock Val Kettley, because when the prophet comes and he does this warning about Val Kettley, we're still not sure who Val Kettley is. So I was like, is Val Kettley 16 or is Val Kettley the other? So because the other's been warning about 16. So when 16 comes and then she says who Val Kettley is, then we're like, oh, we know it. So that's why he's acting so crazy.
Gosh, good old Val Kettley. So yeah, like Lola said, like we clock onto that. We also know, like he says, he's losing his mind. Kettley's like, he basically says we need to kill 16. And Piranesi's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to kill this person. This is also where Kettley, because you remember, this is where he tells Piranesi that there's an old man that may enter this house at some point, and Piranesi needs to avoid him. So remember, Piranesi's already met this man. So he hasn't told him that he's already met him. And he's also not really telling him that 16 has been trying to make contact with Piranesi. So like Lola said, she's been leaving notes. But Piranesi tries to erase the note. Like, this is what you were saying earlier. He tries to erase the note, but he does it badly. So he still kind of gets a gist of what...
On purpose.
16 was saying. Yeah. Because I think it's like a subconscious, like you said, like, he said I shouldn't do A.
Yeah. He says it, though. He says, I know either way I'm still going to see it. And then he dwells on it to decipher the message. So...
as Lola says, and I've said that, you know, the other's losing his mind, as in Kettley's losing his mind and saying that we need to kill 16. And this is where we find out that Kettley has a gun. And Piranesi's like, gosh, I need to warn. Go on.
He doesn't have a gun. He doesn't. He goes to get it, remember? And then he says, I'm going to bring it. And then he brings the raft and stuff. But then Thingy doesn't go to...
Hello. Lola here. So jumping in here to end the episode. It was getting a bit long, so I thought we would actually have a part A or part B. So in part B we'll have plot points continued, the rest of our thoughts, read receipts, and as well as hottest book in town. See you in the next episode. Bye.